Hey everybody, hope everyone's having a great Thursday so far. I definitely am. So let's go ahead and get started. So basically, we've got a whole lot of little projects we can do, or we can continue on the big project, which is to actually get this little monster to move. And I think that's what I'll do tonight, is I think the last leg of our journey. So you can see, oh, I should have explained before I just clicked away, but what I want to happen is for this little monster to move to this position, and so we can finally choose where to go, and then I need to choose for the other player. And now it does a whole lot of stuff. It sends the selections to the servers, or to the server. Then we download every player's selection, and then we ask mods to sort the players based on their speed, and we can see that player 0, which is gold, is slower, so it goes second. And then the last phase that we still need to implement is to turn the selection into a list of actual actions that the game can take. So we'll start on that tonight and see how far we can get. So maybe I'll start with Lua. Okay, so it'll be back in the ability scripts. We already have ability, move, get actions, but right now it doesn't actually do anything. Okay, so yeah, we'll have the arguments, and it will just give us a selection just like we had here. So I'll try and use the same arguments, or same syntax. Yeah, it'll just be one selection, so it'd be something like, okay, yeah, this is all old. Alright, so first thing we want to do is, I guess, create an action. Do we want to... There's two ways we can do it. We can either return a table of actions, or we can do something like we did here for the options, where you just add an action one after the other. But maybe we should do a table, because that way the mods can have the ability to reorder actions on the fly whenever they want. So I think that would be the best way. So actions, let's create a new table, and let's I guess, well, we'll just do it simply here. There'll only be one action for this, which is just to move one monster from one position to another. So table insert actions, and then we'll need to, let's see, create action. Okay, we can either pass a bunch of objects to it right here, or we can be able to set them, or both. Oh, hi Ice Boy, good to see ya. I'm doing good. How are you? Alright. I guess we'll support this way, and we can make helper functions if we need to down the road. Create action, and then action type equal move action dot monster is arg selection dot monster, and then action dot Like you're sleepy at the moment, but good. Yep, same here. Starting to get to the end of the day to me, but I think I'll still be fine to program for a little bit. So I guess we just call this position for now. And it will be the args selection. Okay, so it's not, yeah, the position is not actually stored here. So it'd be something like arg selection, option, memory, position. So I think that's how we'll do it. And yeah, whenever we create this option back here, we can reuse the mod will be able to insert whatever information it wants into this memory class, and so we can grab it back out again here. And then we just return actions. So I think that's our script. So yeah, that's relatively simple. Okay, so now let's go C# and think about what is involved in that. Okay, so let's start in the ordering subphase. We already did that. And then we need, yeah, to convert selections into a list of actions. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so we need to insert another phase here after sort, which I guess, I don't know, let's say create actions phase. Are you going back to school tomorrow? That seems kind of early. But I guess I don't know when. Maybe it's not too early, I don't know. Usually I started back at least like the second week of August. I hope you had a good summer at least. Alright, and so here, so instead of going to the send a server phase, we need to go to the create actions phase. And then we need to have another script here. Okay, so let's just call, I guess I'll just have ordering at the beginning. So ordering action creator. Okay. So this class, looking back here, will basically take care of steps 2 through 4. So we need to, there's a couple of things to do here. So we have a sorted player order, and I guess for each player, request options for each ability, so we can pass the selected option to get actions function. then once that's complete, we can call get actions for each selection. Start early in the year and had a good summer. Okay. I'm happy you're gonna chill in my stream and I'm live. Well, thanks, I appreciate that. I'm glad it's chill. I do try to stay pretty have a pretty good environment in here. Okay, so again, there's two phases here. We've got to well, we can see here that we need this option, and this is not stored anywhere, so we basically need to call this function again, which I kind of knew coming into it. And then once this is done, we can actually call this function with this data, and then we'll actually have the list, and then we can transform this list into something the game will be able to read, and then we can insert them all into one giant action list in the same order. Oh, thank you, Iceboy. I'm glad. Alright, so let's see. We can kind of do it all in parallel, which is probably a good idea because we don't really need to wait until one player script finishes before we call another one. So we kind of need to keep a state for each player. So, I did. Give me another tab there. So actually, private class, player state. Okay, so we need the turn options class. And also, okay, that's not right. What do I store that in? Okay, it's just a list. That's fine. That will work for us. And then we'll need, oops, I wanted to put public at the beginning. We'll also have the list of game actions. Whenever that's completed. And I guess we should have like an enumeration here that tells us what state we're currently at. Eval state. Oops. So idle, get options, get actions, and then complete. And then maybe we should have the player selection, or what did I call it? Turn option. Where is it? Okay, let's look in the player sort caller. I'm sure it'll have a reference to it. Yeah, the turn selection list. Okay, yeah, this is turn selection, yeah, that makes sense. Selection, and then last but not least, we'll have the order. Actually, no, we don't. don't think I need the order because we'll just store the order in here. So this should actually be the player index. Although I guess that's also stored in the selection, isn't it? Yeah. But in any case, we'll have a list of this. State. Alright, and now, let's see. Alright, we're getting a bit too many classes up here, so let's close all this again. Where is the ordering sorter? I'll copy this class because we'll kind of use it. Let's move this down a bit. I don't need that. We'll need something to call Lua, although it'll look a little different. And we only want the ordered version. This is, I don't know, on complete. Okay, so this would be on turn actions generated. We may need to change this a little bit later, but I won't even bring that up for now. We'll just pretend this is all. Okay, so what this does is it waits until the next frame to start calling stuff. That's probably a good idea. So if the ordering phase enters in the create actions phase, then that means this class needs to start up. Oh, if I need that there. Okay, this is a good point. So what happens if we exit early? I actually didn't do this for the sorter. There should be some way to cancel a Lua call, maybe. It's probably good enough just to have like one simple message that's cancel all Lua calls. Because if we have to exit early, that's probably good enough. What made me make a Pokemon Fire Emblem game? Well, I was just trying to think of a good game that or a good type of game that was moddable and had online and that I wanted to make, and this just came into my head. I've always kind of wanted to make an RPG too, so it worked out. Okay, so let's see. Maybe we can just make it... oh no, that wouldn't work. I was gonna say we could just have it so that if the game enters an error state, then all Lua scripts would cancel automatically. But I don't think that's what I want to do. Yeah, I just need to make a message that's like cancel all Lua. So let's start. I guess I'll do the sort players Lua caller. It's better if we do this now before we create too many more Lua calls. Message sub, oh, I don't need to do that. No, it's a message sub, or that's again not the right syntax. So controller sub to message, and we just need to have a tag here. Let's see. Cancel all async Lua scripts. And then let's just create this. Ooh. Never seen that window before. I wanted to generate method. Alright, so what do we have to do here? We don't have to worry about cleaning up in the async request handler because it will do it itself. But I do need to basically call this. Let's just rename this to cleanup. And I can move that there and then just call the cleanup function. Okay, that just resets everything, and then here we also need to sub to message, but I'll call this cancel, oops, if I can spell it right, cancel all. Yeah, that's right. And we really just need to clear tracking. I think that would do the trick. So active tracks clear, and then next ID equals 0. I guess we don't really need to do that, it doesn't make any difference. Because right when, yeah, we have this cleanup track. I guess I should actually call cleanup track for every track. Although that does make things a little complicated because if you're going to remove something from a dictionary, you can't also iterate over it. So I need to have like a temporary list. Which, I guess we could do that, but for now this will work, so I'm not going to worry about it. But just in case I ever change the way that we clean up a track, like if we ever wanted to cache that object so that we don't have to create a new one every time, I'll put these functions next to each other so hopefully you'll notice. Alright, so here on the ordering sorter we need to claim that message so we can call it if phase ends abruptly. Cancel Lua. This controller. Claim message. So cancel all Lua scripts. And then we would just call it right here. I'll just do it this way. So if state does not equal inactive, that means that we had Lua scripts running. So I'll call cancel Lua real quick. Okay, so that works fine, and I'll add that here. Although I don't have a state, so it'll be a little more complicated, but let's just copy and paste these messages over so we don't have to type it again. Alright, so how would we do it this way, I think. Bool any active equals false. And then we loop through the states class. So far, player state and states. If player state equals okay, well, if it equals get actions or get options. And you could do it a little cleaner with a switch statement, but this will be fine. Break, and then if any active, we'll call cancel Lua. Alright, so there, that takes care of that. Okay, so here, what do we need to set up? We need to reset this player state object, which I guess I should create right here. So do we have... oh yeah, we have this sorted... yeah, the ordered list already. Okay, so... I'll just clear it in case, but I really should actually clear the states that are there. That takes care of it. And then for each bar selection and ordered states add new, we'll just create a new object. So it'll be a little messy here because we could store them, but it will be okay. So we don't know the options or the actions yet. That's what we gotta generate with from Lua. But we can set the state to yeah, idle. I guess we'll start out. And the selection is just let's pass that right away. Oh yeah, we gotta do a little more, drill a little bit farther down in there. Okay, so now we're ready to actually call the Lua, I think. So what is this? So we need to call the get targets Lua. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, this class is not needed anymore. So let's get targets Lua called parameters. Oh, well actually, now that I think about it, since the actions... oh yeah, so this is one thing I was curious about how I'd handle. Because we actually, as the actions are generated, we need to kind of execute them right away because this board state needs to activate or needs to update for the new actions as they're generated or as they're taken. And if that's the case, yeah, then we might need to change this because we can't return a list because the action has to be taken like right away. Okay, so, well that's I mean, the reason we have to do that is because, say for example, how am I gonna illustrate this? I guess if the game runs, that'd be an easy way. Oh no. Okay, go ahead and compile for me, Unity. There we go. Okay, so pretend that the silver monster is right here, and both players want to move here. And the silver monster is faster, so it moves first, right to there. But now the gold player wants to move there, but the Lua script should actually take that into account and basically cancel the move because it's no longer possible. And in order to do that, we need to update the game board as actions are set in the actual Lua functions. So we actually do need to call these all in order. But I mean, we can call the get move targets all at the same time. So it's not a complete waste that I did this the way I did. Okay, that's fine. So private get, I guess I'll just call this the action index. And what we'll do is every frame we'll see if the player state under the action index is in the get actions phase. And if it is, we'll call the list and then wait for it to return. Right, so we need to change the way that we do this. There's two ways we could. We could either have this create action and then have another function that's like action.execute, and then the mod would have to call this before we'd let them create another action. But I think that's a little what's the word? Well, I mean, I don't know. It seems like it might be a little fiddly, I guess, because you'd have to call execute before you do create action. Another way to do it. Okay, so basically we can't return a table because the action has to be done right away. But another way to do it would be we can just have a, I don't know, do move action. Probably a better way to do it is if we have like an actions object. So do move, and then we would pass it the monster and the position. This is probably okay. So I'm not sure which way is better, either this way or this way. I guess they're, do we want to maybe try to support both? I don't know, that seems kind of like overkill. But we'd actually change this to actions dot create. Maybe it wouldn't be too difficult to do this. I can't decide what I like better. I mean, there's good and bad things about both. This one is obviously a little more verbose, and you have to remember to always call the execute function yourself. But it would allow the script to have like more complicated if-else statements. This is really simple, but if the script wanted to like have an if-else statement to choose the position, it would have to do that before actually calling, which I guess isn't really that big of a deal. Now that I think about it, we could do... Okay, so let's say we had something like this, and I guess let's say if the let's say the monster, if it has health that's odd. Oh no, we can't do health because that's a statistic. Okay, let's say if it's on an odd row, it can only move left, and if it's on an even row, it can only move right. So how would we do that? This is an experiment. So this way, we would add the type move, and the monster is the same. So if action monster, the position row. This is how you can see if something's even, by the way. We don't need the parentheses in Lua. So if you've never seen this, this is the modulus operator, which basically just takes the remainder of a division. So obviously if 2 goes evenly into the row, then that means it's even. Oh, okay. Although there's not really an left and right on hexagons. Okay, so let's just say if it's even, it'll move up. That's easier to do. Just trying to do an experiment here, so that's fine. So in this case, we would call, let's say, action dot position equals action monster position above else. Okay, so this is pretty easy, and then we would call execute. So to do the same thing here, basically you need to copy this. Then we'd say local.position, and then we would just set the value there, and then just pass it here. So I mean, yeah, it's not that much different. Yeah, so I think now that I think about it this way, probably this option is better, because that way mod authors won't have to remember to call the execute function. Oops, what did I just do there? Okay, so yeah, so we'll go with this. I guess we'll just return true to say that we're good. Okay, so anyway, back to here. Then we need to set action index to 0. Alright, so first we go through the ordering or each state, and if there's any that are idle, we would call the get targets, because we can do that right away. And actually, yeah, we need to do that before we do anything else, to be honest. Yeah, so that's, I think that'll be fine. Yeah, okay. So this, let's change this instead of just call Lua. This will be call, oh, what I think I pressed the wrong function there. Call get options Lua. It's actually get targets, but it returns options. It's a little confusing. I can never decide what to call those objects. Okay, so get targets. Okay, well there's target options, so yeah, I guess targets makes more sense. Okay, and then we'll need another one to call get actions. Oh, except I haven't actually created that class yet, so. Alright, so now that I think about it, we kind of need to get the options for every player first before we actually get the actions, because once we start getting actions, that might change the state of the game, which would probably change what the other Lua scripts return for the target options, which is fine. So maybe I should have let's change this to, I don't know, player state, and then we need like another one just for this class. Which I guess is really the same, huh? So we have get targets, get actions, and then we probably won't even need this complete actually, because when we're complete we'd actually move on to the next, or we'd signal to the flow controller to move on. Let's rename this player states, and this will be eval state. Yeah, so let's just set it to idle for now, or should be a little different. Okay, so we can keep this how it is. Okay, so let's switch between our states. If we're in initialize, then we need to call this function for every player. So for int p equals 0, p less than player states count. Call get targets Lua, send new. Okay, and what do we send here? Yeah, see, right now it actually returns right away, but we need to change that because this class is not going to need to support asynchronous Lua calls. I don't think it'll be that difficult. It was actually on our to-do list, so we can knock it out of the way right now. So the ability and the monster we can get where was I? Over here. We can get from the selection and the player state, which I guess I should pull out of the array. State equals player states p. Alright, so ability equals player state dot selection dot ability index, and monster, same thing. Okay, and then we would set the state now to get targets. And then we'd set our state to get targets as well. And during get targets, we'll loop through the players again and wait until they've all gotten all their targets. So I guess I can pull this out. So bool all ready is false. So if player state dot state equals I guess I should say if it does not equal get actions, then we can break. Yeah, wait, so I need to do this opposite actually. So I'll start true, and then if anything does not equal get actions, then we'll set it to false. And now the only way this would be true is if every player is ready to get their actions. So if already val state equals get targets. So okay, well, I'm not going to do any more because I don't want to get ahead of myself. Instead, we need to convert this to be asynchronous and then of course listen to when that we get the callback from that. So it's not that difficult. First, on this class, we'll need to claim the message for the results so we can send it back. So, send results. Oops, actually, that's bad. So, controller, claim message. And it doesn't need a tag because nothing else is going to use this object. Alright, and then this can't be a query anymore, it needs to just be a normal message, so sub2 message, and it will just be the parameters. And then we won't return this here. So basically, let's add a little bit more here. So during the Lua get targets, we'll want to be able to support other asynchronous calls but not actually get stats. Because for example, we'd want to probably do some pathfinding in the future maybe. We have that right here. And I could see like every target within a 5 length path maybe would be a option, for example. But we don't want you to be able to ask for a stat at this point in the game because stats should have no bearing on the targets. Or should they? I don't think so. Well, I guess the actual monster that the player selected, stats should be available, but they'll all be known, so that's no problem. Anyway, so what I wanted to do, what I was trying to say is that we should have the ability to excuse me, the ability to disable certain functions here being set by the async handler. Let me get some water. So what I think I'll do here is we'll just have a bunch of flags that whoever initiates the registers the script can also pass some flags here in these arguments. So I guess I need to actually be outside here. Public enum new async script. Let's say options. Okay, so if you've never seen a bit flag, I think most people know, or maybe not, but numbers in computers are stored as a bunch of zeros and ones. So a cool thing about this is that you can actually have each bit on the number represent either a yes or no value. So that's what I'm going to do here. So basically the first one maybe would be if we want to allow stat requests, and then next one would be, do we want to allow what's the word, pathfinding or whatever else. And when you put this property in front of an enumeration, that just lets C# know that that's what you're going to try to do. So allow, or let's actually do this opposite. So it's on by default. So forbid stat requests. And this is basically just how you set it up. This operation is a shift, which basically means you shift a certain number of bits over in the number. So 1 shifted 0 is 1. So I just do that just for clarity. It's basically the same as taking 2 to the power of this number, or actually this number. So the next one would be forbid. Well, we don't have anything else, so. But in the future we'll have, like, as I said, pathfinding. So we want to add this here. Options. And then we'll also need to just pass this along here. So options equals args options. And then all we'll do is, before registering this global, say if tracking options. Okay, and this and is it's not the logical and that we use in like if statements. It's a boolean, or not boolean, a bitwise and is what they call it. So it basically means, does this number have this value turned on, is in layman's term the general gist of it. So if does not equal 0, so we're checking to see if forbid.request is not on, and if it's not on, then this would equal 0, and then we'd set this value right here. Oops, I forgot the opening brace. So I hope that made sense. I think that's the first time I've actually used bitwise operations on stream. I'm not sure if I need to add another test here. Like, will we move global, throw an error if there's nothing registered there? I don't know. Probably not, but I guess if it does, we can always change things. So anyway, back here. So instead of calling all this, we need to register our asynchronous call, which is basically this. So let me get this message. Start async. It's a message claim. And then we need to send this. That's the parameter type. So start async script, send new. Okay, so it has yeah, the pre-resume, post-resume. Do I actually call those? I don't think I did. So what I need to do, so I actually call it, I don't need to call it before I resume each time, because all it does is just register new things in the global namespace, so that's all it's for. So I actually just need to call it before the try and then at the finally. I think that will work. So if tracking dot pre-resume does not equal null, then we'll call it. And then I need to do it right here. And then finally. It's kind of an issue actually, because If there's an error, we clean up the track. So I guess we'll need to call that in two separate places. Let's pull this out. So call, post, resume. So it'll actually need to be before we clean up the track right here. And then also right here when we exit the for loop. Alright, so we took care of that. Forgot to implement that, but we didn't need it before. We will need it here because this class registers this extra function. So pre-resume equals pre-resume. So we just need to pull this out. Oh gosh, I totally butchered that. Pre-resume. And then the post-resume is just this. Which we just remove that. Okay, and what else do I need to do here? Okay, we have the onComplete, first arguments, and the actual function. So onComplete is just a user data of the Lua arguments. So not like that. Oh wait, this is first args. Equals onComplete. Okay, so we actually should make this a little bit more descriptive. I guess the easiest way to do this would be something like because we need to remember which oh, I guess we still know, or would we? Oh no, because we do need these parameters because we have to call them. I thought I did use them somewhere. Because in the options we have to add the player index, don't we? Oh no, it doesn't actually have the player index. Oh, we do need to add that then, because yeah, we'll need to know. Okay, so we can just use a lambda thing here, and this is lambda. That's what they call it when you create an anonymous function, basically, to pass on the parameters. It's not gonna let me do that, is it? Private void on complete, and it will pass on these parameters. What's it not like? Oh, actually, we have the return value, I forgot. So we'll want the parameters and the return value. So that's a dynamic value. What did I call it? Okay, yeah, just return value. And when you do this, C# will actually store this value for you and then send it on this function call, so I don't have to create some class somewhere to remember. I guess if we really wanted to, we could have... Well, no, this works. I mean, there's no reason to change it. But I was gonna say we could have this A# script args have like some, I don't know, like tag object, and then it would send the tag to onComplete. But as I said, this works fine. Probably not the most efficient, but I mean, we'll only be calling this ability get targets like 5 times on a turn, so it's not that big of a deal. Alright, so what else do I need to do? Oh yeah, we have to get the actual function now, which is right here. And then the options. So we want to forbid stat requests. Okay, and we basically won't need... Okay, well this is a good point actually. When the async handler gets an error, yeah, we need to do... Oh, I do have a try catch, actually. So maybe here I should probably, in the tracking, I should also have like a exception name. But as I said, I need to fix up these play exceptions, so we'll worry about that in the future. So we don't need any of this. And then this part, I need to move to the onComplete. Okay, and then we don't return, we just call onComplete. Or what is the function? Or the message I created? Send results. And that's done. So does this need to... I don't think this function or this class needs to actually do anything when the Lua scripts are cancelled. Yeah, it doesn't really care. Alright, so I think we're done there. So back on the action creator, we need to... Okay, yeah, this should actually be get actions, call result, or get targets, I mean. So targets, Lua complete. Paste that down there. Okay. So if eval state equals get targets and player states result dot... Oh, we don't have the player ID. Okay, well, we can still figure it out. Player ID doesn't actually matter there. Okay, so int player. This is called index. It should be -1 actually, because we don't know it yet. For int p equals 0, p less than player states count, or Alright, so if player states p selection dot monster index equals result dot monster ID. Maybe this should be monster index too, they kind of conflict, but then we know that the index is p and we can break. So now we need to make sure that the player state, oops, if that its state is also get targets. And if it is, then well, actually I need to make sure that the index is not -1. So if index is greater than or equal to 0, then let's actually pull the player state object out. State. Alright, so if it's on get targets, then we can set the options to the result options. So let's rename this to target options. I guess we don't really need the whole thing. We just need one out of this list. Because it's basically state dot selection dot target index. Yeah, it's a little inefficient because we have to get all the actions because we need the specific one at this index. But that's okay. Most of the time I don't think asking for one would really speed up the calculation too much. Okay, and then also we can set the state now to get actions. Okay, and I think that's it. So then up here, I think we need one more state. I guess this should be ready to get actions. Okay, so now when we're on the get actions phase, which happens here, we say when everybody is not in the get actions, then already. Wait, did I do this wrong? Okay, yeah, actually I did. I need to change this to ready to get actions. Okay, so now we look at this action index and we see if the player action index is in this ready to get action state. If it is, then we call the get actions Lua script. If it's in the get action state, we just wait, and then if it's in the complete state, then we move on to the next player. So how would I do this? Let's pull this out. So private void tick get actions. This is actually good because we can call this right away and we won't have to wait another frame. Okay, so if action index is greater than or equal to player states count, then we're done. So I'll need to do something there. Otherwise, we need to see what state that specific player is in. So what is it? Action index. I guess I should set it to 0 here, just in case. Okay, so if player state, or no, let's do a switch actually. So if it's in ready to get actions, then we need to call Lua script. If it's in complete, then we need to move to next player. Otherwise, we just wait, so we don't need to do anything. Okay, yeah, so if it's complete, this is pretty easy to do. I can just call our increment action index is the easiest. We could go ahead and call the script for the next player, but then we kind of have to double up on logic here because we'd have to check if the action index is greater again. Actually, let's see. Okay, yeah, I think I might be getting ahead of myself because we might not even need this part. Yeah, if the player's on ready to get actions, then we call the script, but then once we actually get the return from it, we can go ahead and call the next players right away. Well, that might not be the greatest idea. I mean, it would speed things up, it would save a couple frames, but this way I think was, if we just wait until this tick every time, then I think it will be a lot less buggy. So I'll just do it this way for now. We'll see when we actually play the game. We can try and optimize it if we need. Alright, I need to get another drink of water, so 1 second. Alright, thanks for that. Okay, so I guess we should probably start on the next class over here. So, selection to actions, Lua caller. So this would have about the same structure as the get targets, so I think I'll start off by using this as a template. Okay, so selections to actions, Lua caller. It's a selection to actions. Okay, so what would we pass here? Yes, Bagnall it is. Will be a Pokemon game. Or a Pokemon-like game, anyway. Yeah, so I guess we need to pass the turn selection and also this. Yeah, because this does not include the player index, for example. Target and public turn doesn't pop up. Oh, we must just not have that namespace yet. Okay, and what would we return? I guess just a list of game actions, really. Pretty simple. Yeah, we'll need the Lua registry, I bet. And sharp. Okay, so I can get rid of some of this. Just leave the general skeleton of this these classes. Oh yeah, we will have, because we'll have that new actions class that we use right here. And then I'll just get rid of this. Okay, yeah, let's move back to the actual way we want to do it. So args selection, memory position. But yeah, just delete this for now. This parameters. There we go. We'll probably need to change that. So I'll comment this out for now. Oh, that's gonna create problems down here, but alright, so during this phase, okay, I most definitely will be able to ask for stats, so because like when you do damage, you need to know the other player's defense, for example. And this should be this class. This won't. Let's do it this way, actually. Oh gosh, I spelled it badly again. Alright. So now let's start working on the Lua interface objects. We're just about out of time, but I think I can get started. So really, we just need the selection object. So it's a lot like the get targets. Oh no, it's not really. So like the sort players, except this has a whole list of them. Oh, that's a good question. This class should probably have access to the
the memory value, shouldn't it? I actually forgot about that. Well, I mean, that's not that difficult. We just got to move... oops, I left this running the whole time. Alright, come on, Unity. I don't know why it tries to recompile the scripts while the game is running, because that always causes errors. It seems like it should just quit the game for me, but... Alright, so... Okay, well, that's a bit of a shame, but we didn't spend too long on it. I'll just need to pull some of the code out. But we need to search for... or, let's see... find options before the player sort script, because right here in the player turn selection it needs to have access to that memory class. I'm surprised I overlooked that before. Unfortunately, we don't have time to do it tonight. That's okay. That's good, because we can reuse this same class, I think, in the selection to actions arguments. Args. And it's really just going to be, actually I'll copy the get sort players. Alright, Iceboy. You too. Have a good night and sweet dreams. And then I need to, of course, moon sharp user data. Okay, this would just be 1. Yeah, it should already be in the user interface. I was like, what's the problem here? Right, we don't have to do that. So we just really just have this one selection. And smooth sharp hidden. Okay. And while I remember, I'll start on I'll lay the groundwork for looking up the options before we sort players. We're just going to the ordering subphase. Let's see. Regenerate target options. And then in the ordering flow manager, that's actually the first thing, okay. So find all references. This is what I'm looking for. So most of the times, gotta start ordering. Yeah, so we just got okay, that's okay. So yeah, if the server, this is fine. If the server is ahead of us, then we can just re-download everything. So yeah, we don't have to figure this out. So sort. actually need to update some of this other stuff. And also here. Create actions. So this is fine because we still gotta sort the list. And that is okay. Oh, this is wrong. Status, subphase, update. I'm surprised that didn't cause any problems. Okay, so now I think if we play the game, well, there might be errors, but it actually won't progress as far because the game will freeze when it gets to the regenerate options because we don't have anything that does that yet. Oh, it's actually an error. Exceeded maximum. Oh, I just need to mess with the claims. Okay. Probably on the new async script. Let's see if I can do that real quick. So we want to allow unlimited claims because anyone can basically call this message. So async script args. And then there's another one to cancel Lua, except it actually has unlimited subs too. Cancel all. I think that would have thrown an error as well. Oh yeah, this is a little different now. It's asynchronous. Okay, yeah, and I didn't update the script. Actually, the other script that called get options. It needs to be updated to account for asynchronous function. Alright, so we'll do that tomorrow. These changes won't really take too long. I think we're almost there, really. Well, I mean, there's a lot of functions we've got to deal with to create all these actions. And it's a little confusing because somehow we're going to have Lua keep track of these actions but not actually affect the game state because we don't want to change anything until we've verified with the server that everything is in sync. But Lua script kind of needs us to pretend as if these actions happen instantaneously. So that will be a little challenging. But I think I have an idea. Basically, just any time that we need to look up the position of a monster, it needs to check through the actions first and see if there's been any changes before it actually looks back to the game data. So yeah, I mean, that'll complicate everything a bit, but I think it should be okay. But anyway, that's it for me. Thanks everybody for coming by and watching and chatting. I really appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow around 8 Eastern, and we'll continue where we left off, do some more abilities, fix up some of this stuff. I'll move that down because we're going to work on this tomorrow. And pretty soon we should be seeing that little gold monster move across the screen, I hope. So what else? I guess if you're interested, I do have a new Discord server which you can reach from my channel description or by typing !Discord in chat. I'll also upload all my videos to YouTube if you want to catch up on any streams. this one should be up tomorrow morning. And of course, I do appreciate it if you follow, and you'll be notified when I go live tomorrow. And I hope to see you there. Everyone have a good night. Bye-bye.